It was a cool night, and the city streets glowed with neon lights. Music echoed from somewhere far off. I spotted an old building with a faded sign. Red and blue lights flickered through its windows, and loud, rhythmic music poured out. A disco! I couldn't believe a place like this still existed. Excited and curious, I walked toward the entrance. When I opened the door, a wave of warmth and music hit me. Inside, people were dancing under spinning lights. The walls were cracked, the ceiling high, and everything felt like a scene from an old 80s movie. The air smelled of strong perfume and sweat, but it wasn't bad. The place felt alive. I smiled and jumped into the crowd. The music was special. It wasn't just the fast beat. It was like every note went straight to my heart, pushing me to dance. Without thinking, I started moving. My hands waved in the air. My feet followed the rhythm, and I felt lighter than ever. It was like time stopped, and it was just me and the music. A few minutes in, I saw her. She was dancing alone, a bit away from the others. She wasn't sad or seeking attention. She was in her own world. Every move she made was perfect, like she owned the music. Her hair shimmered under the colorful lights, and her shiny dress flowed with every step. I couldn't stop watching her. She was beautiful, but there was something else, something familiar, like I'd seen her before, but I couldn't remember where. I kept dancing, but my eyes kept finding her. Then she looked up and stared right at me. My heart skipped a beat. She smiled, not a normal smile, but one that felt like it held a secret, like she was inviting me. Without thinking, I moved toward her, following the music. The dance floor was crowded, but it was like the people parted for me. With every step closer, I felt something strange. The air got heavier, the music louder. When I reached her, she was still dancing, her movements smooth and effortless. I held out my hand, inviting her to dance with me. She laughed, a short, playful laugh, and reached for my hand. The moment our fingers touched, a cold chill ran through me. Her hand felt like ice. Everything slowed down. The music faded, the lights dimmed, and the crowd blurred away. It was just me and her. Her deep eyes locked onto mine, like they held something hidden. And then she vanished. 1 second she was there, the next she was gone, like she'd never existed. My hand hung in the air, my heart raced, and fear washed over me like a cold wave. I looked around. The crowd was still dancing, like nothing had happened. The music was still loud, the lights still spinning. But I knew something was wrong. It felt like something in this place, in this moment, was broken. I stepped back, trying to calm down. Maybe I was imagining things. Maybe the lights and music had tricked my mind. I decided to step away from the dance floor. I walked to the bar, where a few people were gathered around an old counter. The bartender, an older man with gray hair, was wiping glasses. I leaned in and kept my voice low. "Excuse me, that girl dancing out there in the shiny dress, do you know her?" The bartender paused and looked at me. His eyes were strange, like he knew something he didn't want to say. Then he shrugged. "Lots of people come and go here. I can't know everyone." His answer made sense, but something in his tone felt off, like he was hiding something. I thanked him and turned back to the dance floor. The strange feeling wouldn't leave me. I needed to know more. The disco was bigger than I thought. Narrow hallways led from the main room to smaller areas. Some were full of people dancing or talking, but others were empty. In one hallway, I found an old wooden door that looked untouched for years. Curiosity got the better of me. I turned the handle, and the door creaked open. Inside was a dark room with an old table and broken chairs. A faint light came from a cracked bulb in the ceiling. The walls were covered in old posters of music bands from decades ago. The air felt heavy, like time had stopped in this room. On the table, I found a dusty notebook. Its pages were yellow and smelled of old paper. I opened it. The notebook was full of handwritten notes. Dates went back years, maybe 40 or 50 years ago. Most were about the disco, busy nights, music, dancing. But as I read on, the notes got stranger. Someone wrote, "She's always there, every night. She dances but never speaks." Another said, "Don't get too close. If you take her hand, there's no going back." My heart pounded. Were they talking about her? The girl I saw? Or was this just old superstition? I closed the notebook and decided to return to the main room. But when I got back, something felt different. The crowd was smaller, the music slower. Or maybe it was just me. I looked at the dance floor again. There she was, the same girl, in the same shiny dress, dancing like she'd never left. My heart raced. This time I approached her carefully. I didn't want to touch her hand. I just wanted to see if she was real. When I got close, she looked at me again. That same smile, that same strange feeling. But before I could say anything, she saw something in my eyes, and her smile faded. For a moment, she looked scared, and then she vanished again. Now I was sure I wasn't imagining it. Something was wrong with this disco. I decided to ask someone else. I spotted a man standing by the wall, watching everything. I walked up to him and said, "Sorry, that girl dancing out there. Did you see her?" The man looked at me for a moment, then said, "Don't know. All I know is people who get too close to her, they don't stick around long." That was enough. I had to get out. My heart was pounding, and I felt like something bad would happen if I stayed. I headed for the exit. When I reached the door, I turned back for one last look at the dance floor. She was there again, dancing, but this time she was staring right at me. No smile. Her deep eyes seemed to say something, like she was begging. I opened the door and ran outside. The cold night air hit me like a slap. I took a deep breath and looked back. The disco building was still there, but for a moment, its lights flickered. It was like the whole place blinked out of existence, then came back. I walked home, but the whole way, I felt like someone was following me. Every few steps, I looked over my shoulder, but no one was there. When I got home, I locked the door and tried to sleep, but I couldn't. The image of that girl, her dance, her smile, the moment she vanished, stayed in my mind. Now, every time night falls and I hear music in the distance, my heart beats faster. Somewhere in an old disco, I feel like she's still dancing, waiting. And I don't know what. The air buzzed with excitement. Neon lights flashed like living veins in the dark, turning the disco into another world. The music was so loud and deep, it felt like it grabbed my heart and pulled me to dance with every beat. Laughter and energy filled the place. Shiny clothes, carefree smiles, and the sharp smell of mixed perfumes swirled in the air. I was lost in the moment. Freedom, youth, life. Nothing could ruin this night. I was with my friends in the middle of the dance floor. Red and blue lights hit our faces, and our shadows danced on the glossy walls. One friend cracked a joke, and we all burst out laughing. In that moment, time seemed to stop. It was just me, the music, and the feeling that the world was mine. When a friend said, "Tonight feels different, doesn't it? Like something's in the air," I just laughed and said, "Yeah, something good." I didn't know her words were a warning. Hours passed dancing, laughing, colorful drinks. Everything was perfect. Then suddenly, I felt a shift. I couldn't pinpoint it, but the air felt heavier. The music still played, but now it sounded strange. The notes twisted in my head, not just my ears. My heart started racing, not from dancing, but from something else. A weird feeling, like someone was watching me, but I couldn't see them. I looked around. Everyone was still dancing. The lights still spun, but something was off. I felt a hot breath right behind my neck, like someone was standing too close. My heart skipped. I spun around. Nothing. Just darkness and dancing shadows. I told myself, maybe I'm tired or too caught up in the disco vibe. But deep down, something nagged at me. Minutes later, it happened again. This time, it felt like an icy hand gently touched my neck. The cold sank into my bones. My heart pounded. I turned. Nobody. Just a faint cold mist, like winter breath, hanging in the air before it vanished. I glanced at my friends. They were still laughing and dancing like they felt nothing. I wanted to say something, but stopped. I didn't want to sound silly. I walked to the big mirrors by the dance floor to pull myself together, maybe splash water on my face. In the mirror, everything seemed normal at first. I saw myself, messy hair, nervous smile. But then, my shadow. For a second, it moved on its own. Not like a normal shadow that follows you. This one seemed alive. It grinned. A wide, creepy smile. That wasn't mine. I rubbed my eyes and looked again. My shadow was normal, just staring back, like always. But my heart wouldn't slow down. Back on the dance floor, the music felt like it was playing inside my skull, like I was wearing headphones. But there were none. My heartbeat matched the rhythm, like I had no control. I looked at my friends. They seemed strange, too lost in the music. Their eyes had an odd glint, like they were in another world. Suddenly, the music stopped. Silence hit me like a hammer. Everyone froze. The lights went out, except for a faint red glow, like blood sliding across the walls. Then I heard a scratching sound, like long nails dragging on the walls. It started in one corner, then circled around us. My heart was in my throat. I looked at my friends. They were scared too, but no one spoke. Then I felt a hand on my shoulder, cold, heavy, real. I turned nothing, just a cold breath behind me. I hurried to another spot, but it followed. The cold breath was always one step behind. I was losing it. I told my friends, guys, we need to leave. Something's wrong here. They just stared, like they couldn't speak. We ran to the exit. The door was locked. I yanked the handle, but it wouldn't budge. A low voice came from the speakers, like a whisper. If you lose the rhythm, you lose yourself. My blood ran cold. I tried the door again. Nothing. One friend said, maybe it's a prank. Someone's messing with us. But his voice shook. The lights flickered back on, but now they were only red. The music returned, but it had a creepy chant mixed in, like an ancient prayer. I felt the walls closing in. I don't know if it was real or my mind, but the room seemed smaller. My shadow caught my eye in the mirror again. It wasn't me anymore. A blurry figure with black eyes and a nasty grin, like it was saying, "You're mine." One friend started crying. I felt it too, she said. Something's following us. Now we were all terrified. We tried other doors, but they were locked too. The scratching got louder, coming from the ceiling, the floor, everywhere. One friend screamed, "There!" In the mirror, we turned, our shadows in the mirror. They weren't ours anymore. Each one was twisted, one tall and thin, one hunched, one with sharp teeth, and they were staring at us. Suddenly, the exit door slammed open with a loud bang. No one stopped to question it. We just ran. The cold breath chased me all the way to the door. When we finally hit fresh air, we stopped and looked at each other. No one spoke. We just panted. I glanced back at the disco. The red lights spilled out of the windows, but now they felt alive, like eyes watching us. That night, no one slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt a cold breath on my face. The scratching echoed in my ears. Worst of all, I felt like my shadow wasn't mine anymore. Days later, one friend said he couldn't look in mirrors anymore. He said every time he did, something was behind him. A shadow, grinning. Months have passed, but that night still isn't over. When I'm alone, I feel the walls creeping closer. I feel a cold breath on my neck. Worst of all, I feel my shadow watching me. Once, in a crazy moment, I tried talking to it. "What do you want?" I said. I swear I heard a whisper. The same voice from the speakers. "If you lose the rhythm, you lose yourself." I don't go out at night anymore. Even daytime doesn't feel safe. Because I know somewhere that shadow is waiting for me to miss a beat. It was a hot summer night, the kind where everything feels alive. The streets were full of people laughing and heading to the disco. Neon lights flashed in the distance, and the music was so loud you could hear it from blocks away. I was with my friends, buzzing with excitement. I had a feeling tonight would be special, not good or bad, just strange. The disco was in the middle of the city, an old brick building that looked like it belonged to another time. But inside, it was like stepping into another world. Colored lights spun everywhere. Mirrors on the walls reflected them, and the music, it grabbed your heart and squeezed. Everyone was dancing, laughing, sweating. I threw myself into the crowd, moving to the beat, feeling like the world was mine. My friends were in a corner, holding drinks and talking loudly. I stopped to catch my breath and looked around. That's when I saw her. Among all the people in shiny modern clothes, there was a girl in an odd, old-fashioned dress. It looked like something from decades ago. A long, pale green dress with puffy sleeves and a wide skirt that reached her knees. It had some lace that sparkled under the disco lights. Her hair was simple, just tied with a cloth band, not styled like everyone else's. She danced slowly, not like the others, who seemed to fight the music. Her movements were soft, like she was floating. But the strangest thing, no one else seemed to notice her. People had danced around her, some even passed through her, but no one looked at her. I couldn't take my eyes off her. Then she looked up and stared right at me. My heart stopped. Her eyes, I can't describe them, but they were deep, like they were saying something I couldn't understand. She smiled, a small, cold smile. A chill ran down my spine. My legs felt weak, but I couldn't look away. Something inside me said this wasn't right. She wasn't normal. I tried to shake it off, telling myself I'd had too much to drink or the lights were messing with me. I went back to my friends and tried to get lost in the disco vibe. But every few minutes, my eyes searched for her. She was still there, dancing slowly, separate from everyone. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I had to know something. I went to the disco's owner, a middle-aged man with graying hair standing behind the counter, greeting everyone with a big smile. I said, "That girl over there, in the old green dress, who is she? It's like no one else sees her." His smile faded a bit. He looked at me like he was trying to figure out how serious I was. Then he said quietly, "You saw her?" His voice had a strange tremble. I nodded. "Yeah, what's wrong?" He took a deep breath and said, "Years ago, long before you were born, there was a young girl who came here. Always wore a green dress, loved to dance. One night, right in the middle of dancing, she collapsed. Her heart stopped. No one knew why. She never came back. But some people say she's still here. They say she appears sometimes only to certain people. I don't know. Maybe people who were meant to see her." My mouth went dry. "You're saying I saw a ghost?" He laughed, but it was nervous. "I'm not saying anything. Just that you're not the first to mention her." I turned back to the dance floor, my mind racing. She was still there, but now she seemed a little closer. She looked at me again, that same cold smile. This time I was sure it wasn't just my imagination. Something about her was pulling me in. For the rest of the night, I felt her eyes on me. Even when I left the disco and walked home in the cool night air, it was like a shadow followed me. My heart was pounding, but I couldn't stop thinking about her. Who was she? Why me? And why didn't I feel scared? Part of me wanted to know more. That night was just the beginning. The next few days, I couldn't think of anything else. Her smile, her deep eyes, they were always in my mind. I decided to go back to the disco. I had to know the truth. This time I went alone. I didn't want my friends thinking I was crazy. The disco was as crowded as ever, but something felt different. The lights seemed dimmer. The music had a strange sadness. Or maybe it was just my mind playing tricks. I stood in a corner, scanning the room. She wasn't there. Part of me was disappointed, part relieved. I went to the counter. The same gray-haired man was there. Before I could speak, he said, "You're back. Looking for that girl, huh?" I nodded. He said, "Look, I don't want to scare you, but some people who see her can't live normally afterward. It's like she wants something from them." "What does she want?" I asked. He shrugged. "I don't know, but here's some advice. If you see her again, talk to her. Maybe then you'll understand." Talk to a ghost? It sounded insane, but I felt like I had no choice. I stayed until closing, but she didn't show. But then, that cold, shadowy presence. I stopped and looked around. No one. Then, in the reflection of a shop window, I saw her. Same green dress, same smile. I held my breath and said, "Who are you? Why won't you leave me alone?" My voice shook. Her reflection faded a little, but her smile grew. A soft voice, like it came from far away, said, "Follow me." I don't know why, but my feet moved. I followed her through dark, narrow alleys until I reached an abandoned building. The door was half open. My heart was pounding, but I couldn't stop. I went inside. Dust covered everything, but in the middle of the room was a pair of old dance shoes, like someone had just left them there. I bent down to look closer. Suddenly, I felt someone behind me. I turned. She was there, clearer than ever. Her eyes were full of strange sadness. She said, "I didn't finish. My dance wasn't done." I didn't know what to say. I just asked, "What do you want from me?" Her eyes fell to the shoes. "Let me finish it." I can't explain what happened next. All I know is that after that night, whenever I go to the disco, I feel her there. Not scary, not strange. Just a shadow dancing, like she's finally free. But sometimes, when I'm alone, I still hear that whisper. And I wonder, maybe there's still something I need to understand.